Hello all, and welcome to our pre-season team reveal series with some of the very best FPL managers to ever play the game right here at fantasyfootballhub.co.uk. My name is Fergie, and this time I'm fortunate enough to be joined by none other than the brilliant FPL Heisenberg. How have you enjoyed your break over the summer, Wes?
Yeah, it's been nice, mate. Just enjoyed the Euros without any sort of fancy involvement. I know you was the same as well,
Absolutely.
which was nice. Had a little break, recharged the batteries, and now raring to go on all fronts now.
Yeah. How's your kind of when did you start making your first draft and stuff? Are you like an early drafter or a later drafter?
Uh, I made like I did a couple without any sort of thought or reason behind them, just to have a play around. But when it first got they launched the game too early, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Uh, and it was almost, it's still even a little bit too early now to have a final draft, but we're getting obviously closer and we can get a decent draft in. But yeah, those early drafts were just to sort of get price points in the right position, get the sort of structure looking something like, and get a bit of engagement back and forth on Twitter. But it wasn't anywhere near a final draft or well researched draft in those early days.
Yeah, I find that when the game launches and it goes kind of week on week, is my kind of short list of players gone down, from like 60 to 50 to 40,
Yeah,
and now I'm kind of at the maybe I don't know 15
narrowing
or
it.
20 stage where it's just working out structurally how it can all fit in, making sure if Kane goes to Man City that you've got a way of getting him in without under wild card, all this sorts of bits. But
Yeah.
yeah, indeed. Okay, so we now have your FPL record on screen for our watchers, a superb record, highs with 3 top 10 key finishes in the last 5 seasons. Very, very well done. And on that season, you had your 2017-18 836. I coincidentally had my best, had my best ever season. That was a stellar year, mate. That one was.
Yeah.
Um,
Where did you come that year? Did you beat me?
I wouldn't like to say, mate. I wouldn't like to say.
Oh,
This is
you
your
did.
your
You
team
did.
reveal. This is your team reveal. But
Come
your
on.
overall record is far superior to mine. Let me tell you.
Cheers, mate.
So as we approach the new season, what are your kind of early strategic thoughts? About the first 4, 6, 8 game weeks.
Yeah, I think they're really important, and it's something that I want to definitely improve myself as well, because I've definitely noticed in certain years, probably that year where I did do well was actually a good start. Whereas it's so hard to get a good start because you haven't maybe built up that team value, or you haven't. There's no data to go off. I'm very much someone who likes to, like everyone, I guess. After 6 game weeks, we know who's on form. You know the sort of fixtures. You know who's doing well. That year when Sheffield United came up and did really well.
Yeah.
We thought that was going to be an easy fixture, for example, but then we learnt that it was actually quite a difficult one, etc., etc. So yeah, getting off to a not disastrous start is my aim. Just keeping up with the pack, getting my team. Not worrying too much about ranking those early stages, getting my team how I want it, and then as the season goes on, I normally sort of chip away and end up with a good rank. So, but yeah, hopefully I can actually nail. I remember last year I made some mistakes game week 1. I had Werner, which was a calculated gamble, so I'm not too bothered about one. But I had players like Saka who wasn't nailed, and I had Perez from Leicester who wasn't nailed. So I picked two. I made 2 mistakes in my game week 1 team last year. So I need to try and make no mistakes this year if possible.
I think it's fair to say as well, like with kind of gambles on certain players, I think the word mistake is sometimes a little bit misused. But I
Yeah.
made the mistake, and it was a mistake, of going for Aubameyang over Salah. And
Oh, okay. Yeah.
even if it's paid off, Salah's, his ownership,
Yeah.
home to a newly promoted team. When you look back, it's like, what was I doing? That was a mistake, because regardless of whether Salah had blanked or got the hat trick he did, you're
Yeah.
you're you're still with the vast majority of managers. And we've talked about this with Abdul and Bakar and general on the previous ones as well.
Yeah.
You hope your experience and your kind of FPL knowledge and class later down the line will kind of help you
Exactly.
rise,
Yeah.
rather than go for the Hail Marys on game week 1, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think that's what I've watched those videos as well. They're great videos, so I urge anyone to watch those guys as well, because they've obviously all got stellar records as well. Um, and yeah, that was one of the things I kind of learned from. Well, I
Absolutely.
kind of knew it already, but in terms of those guys are thinking along those lines as well, and it is important because, like you say, you can make gains later on in the season, and yeah, it's something that I'm definitely it's almost a blind spot for myself starting well, and I still haven't got the answer to that. So, in the comments, if someone does know anyone who starts really well, let us know, and we can try and get some learnings from them as well.
Super. Okay, thank you, Heis. So for any new watchers, you are very, very welcome. If you haven't subscribed just yet, please press the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen and set the alerts so you don't miss any of our team reveals, other videos or live streams right here on this channel. Also, please press the like button if you enjoy our content. So just before we reveal your team, we should let our watchers know, if you haven't already signed up to fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, there is currently a pre-season 25% discount link at the top of the description below. Members get unlimited access to all our tools, including Opta-Stats, comparison tools, points prediction tools, Game Week 1 team reveals, FPL optimization tool, everything you could ever wish for to become a better fantasy football manager. We also have masses of content across every fantasy game to help you dominate your mini league. So Heis, you've been a hub member again right from the start, right from the inception of Fantasy Football Hub. How has the membership kind of benefited you over the years?
Yes, unbelievably, to be fair. And the fact that Hub has grown from, I think I joined Hub back in 2018, and now, from what yourself, Will, and some of the others have done to drive it forward, some of the tools that a guy called Steve mainly makes are incredible. So the Opta-Stats is something I use all the time, and also just if you're using the Opta-Stats on Hub, take time to get used to it, because I was using it, and then it's not only it took me a little while, like a few hours, built up of using it to actually use all the functionality, like all the different filters, and just so take some time, get into that, and then you'll know how good it is, rather than just if you pop onto it for 5 minutes and just look at some stats, fine, it's still good, but once you dig down and learn how to filter it well, really, really helpful. And so yeah, I've been part of Hub since I think it's 2018, and it's just incredible now. So good. And also quickly, Fergie, I didn't tell you I was going to do this, but I wanted to give your videos that you've got coming up planned. You haven't actually made them yet, a little plug. So 3 p.m. UK time every day until the deadline, you're going to be doing a live sort of interactive question and answers and rating people's teams that they submit beforehand on like Twitter. And that's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, just the content's unbelievable on the YouTube as well. So 3 p.m. every day now, everyone in the lead, it's pre-season. That's going to be fun.
Thank you, Heis. Very, very, very excited. I'm doing the first one this afternoon. Hopefully by the time this video goes out, it will be kind of 3 o'clock then. I think it'll be just before, but yeah. Very excited to have a look at everyone's teams and just just interact and chat with everyone, answer questions, and try and help if we can, or just have a discussion. So okay, so Heis, we now have your team on screen. Do you want to talk us through your selection? I know we were talking just beforehand, and even though your team looks quite a template team, you've still got a lot of positions up for discussion, haven't you?
I have, yeah. And it's almost when I was doing my, like I said, I did some drafts that were probably less template but less well researched. So I had players like Henderson in goal, who I do still think is a good pick. Obviously, you can see on the screen now I've got Sanchez in, who is ultra template at the minute, but it is kind of for a reason, because there's not normally, I feel like there's more 4.5 million goalkeepers to choose from. I do actually like Bachmann at Watford as well. They've got good early fixtures, and you have the benefit of having Foster as a 4.0 backup. Obviously at Brighton, you've now got, his name's just dropped out of my head, but Brighton have signed another goalkeeper.
Oh, okay.
They've got Steele as a 4.0, but I think it's going to be third choice now.
Okay.
So if you went for the Sanchez Steele option, it doesn't work. If Sanchez gets in, you're still left without a keeper, which is why in mine you'll see Foster on my bench, because he's 4.0 and at least he's number 2 rather than number 3 at his club. But yeah, if you want to go down the Watford route, they've got good early fixtures, but I just feel like Brighton, we obviously know more about them. Watford, a newly promoted club, and although they've got good fixtures, they could get tanked every week by every team. You just don't know with newly promoted teams. So that's why I'm favouring Sanchez. I did have Henderson, but then I decided, I think news was kind of like Shaw was going to be missed the start of the season. Now the news is that he's fighting to try and be fit for them. So I dropped Henderson, saved the money there, and you do usually get more save points from the keepers in lower down the league as well. So obviously my defence there, Luca Dean, Rafa Benitez on a lot of set pieces without Sigurdsson taking them. So he could be a real good option this year. and Luke Shaw, Trent, they kind of speak for themselves. I won't go on about those too much. But I did have Reece James in an earlier draft as well, and I still
Such a good player, and he's such a good player.
Amazing player, and also very good FPL asset. I feel like it's a bit stupid to go with Chelsea assets from game week 1 because of their fixtures. However, I feel like Tuchel, will be able to grind out clean sheets even in the tough games. Champions League final against Man City, clean sheet. Plenty of other Premier League games last year. I remember they got a 0-0 against Man United. So I feel like they could still get clean sheets, but do you want to be spending 5.5 million on a defender with tough fixtures? Might make more, and is a bit of a rotation, which maybe might make sense to wait till game week 7.
Yeah, I found with Reece James last year, because I owned him in some other fancy formats, is that if he doesn't start, he tends to come on. Whereas with Chilwell, on the other side, he tended, if he didn't start, which is quite rare, but he would stay on the bench. So obviously, your first bench would come into play then. So that's the only thing with Reece James is, in other fancy format, it doesn't matter as much if they're a sub, but in FPL, you don't want that dreaded 1 pointer, do you?
Yeah, exactly. Which worries me, which is why I think I had him in instead of Luke Dean at one point, but now I just feel like Luke Dean's going to play every game.
Exactly.
And and Everton's early fixtures are pretty good as well. So it just, as much as I want, I kind of want to go with almost my gut on that one. The more you research it, the more you look into it, the more you kind of realise that it makes more sense to go with the guys I've got. In midfield, again, it's some kind of template type picks, but again, the kind of template for a reason. Salah and Fernandes have been in all my drafts, I think, and I can't imagine I'll go without them. Especially with Kane, I'd have 2 out of the 3, including Kane in that. But with Kane set to miss the first game week at least, makes sense not to go with him. Again, Rafinha wasn't in one of my early drafts. I kind of had the combo of Smith Rowe and Bamford, where I've got now Rafinha and Tony. But I just feel like the value, like Rafinha 6.5 compared to Bamford 8 million. Rafinha stats last year, and the eye test was so good. I still like Bamford as an option. So if you've got him in your drafts, don't take him out on the fact of what I've done at all. There's multiple good drafts out there.
Just on that, and you mentioned this right at the start, and I think it's a really, really important point around the template. So I remember tweeting, I think the FPL game launched on something like the 22nd of June. And I remember tweeting on the day, looking at some of the prices, that they haven't put much thought into these prices, and we're going to have a massive template. It's going to be and the reason is because people like Rafinha at 6.5 million, he's just a no-brainer. People like Luke Shaw, if he's starting at 5.5, even Luca Dean, if they'd have priced maybe Shaw at 6 million, Dean at 6 million, it gives people, so like even Sanchez at Brighton 4.5, he probably should be 5 because he finished the end of the season on the 5. But what they've done is they've made it very easy for everyone to build a very, very solid, similar team. And that was my fear. I remember tweeting it on the day. Is this the problem with releasing it too early, with not having a lot of thought? Is this thing happens, doesn't it? But they are just incredible picks.
I'd agree with all of that. And it's kind of the reason why, again, I feel like Watkins is maybe 0.5 underpriced. He's kind of in for that sort of reason. I'm trying to find these picks that are, good picks, going to get you points, but been priced slightly lower, and therefore it allows you to get, more premiums in or whatever. I guess one of my big differentials at the minute would be, the strikers kind of speak for themselves, so I won't touch on them too much. Calvert-Lewin, good fixtures, and Watkins both had good seasons last year. Tony, newly promoted, but a strong pick nonetheless.
Absolutely.
And Barnes at Leicester. So
what a pick, mate! I was buzzing when I saw that. Excited for it.
I want to keep him in. I looked on Hubs. I did a tweet just before recording. It won't be on the screen, but I think you can grab it from the comments section.
I will. I'll put it up in the description. Yeah.
Go to my Twitter. You'll be able to find it quite easy. It's 5 players. I filtered Hub's players prediction tool, which I urge everyone to go and check out as well. By midfielders up to 7 million, and I filtered it over the first 6 game weeks to see who's predicted to score the most points. Barnes came 6th on that list, behind the likes of I'll just get it up. Sarr was top actually for Watford. I think that's due to their fixtures, and obviously what talent he is. So he's an exciting pick. I guess if you've got a fairly template team and want to take one gamble here and there, someone like Sarr would be a decent pick at 6 million. Bowen, 6.5 million. Buendia was in there as well. Again, a player who's potentially going to take over the Grealish role, maybe. Again, a bit of a gamble with that one, but a calculated gamble if you do go for him. and Rafinha was in there as well. So some good picks. But yeah, I'm hoping to stick by Harvey Barnes. He played. He got some minutes in pre-season on the 31st of July, so a couple of days before we recorded this. So, he's back playing games, which hopefully means he'll start. I am a bit wary of the likes of Vardy, Daka, Iheanacho, Maddison, I guess a little bit. Players in those sort of full attacking midfield and full positions for Leicester. Maybe it might make Barnes a bit of a rotation risk. I don't know. So, excuse me. I think closer to the game week 1, I'd have to just double check that Barnes is going to be a nailed on asset. If I'm confident he's nailed on to start most or all or most games and get at least sort of 75 minutes, I'll probably take the gamble there with Barnes. But there are those options I just mentioned are all good options, and they're all actually cheaper than Barnes. So if I went for someone like a Buendia or a Sarr, that would actually allow me to keep some money in the bank, which would be handy for my game week 2, game week 3 transfers, where I've got that bit more flexibility. So there's that to factor in as well. Keeping a little bit of money back can be handy.
I think that's a really important point with Sarr, because obviously he saves the $1 million. If he's projected to potentially have a good start season, I'm sure there's a lot of people listening at the moment and watching who are trying to squeeze that extra $500,000 out to maybe upgrade a 5-minute defender to someone like Digne, or maybe upgrade Watkins to Calvert-Lewin or whatever it is. That $500,000 or $1 million is massive in it at the moment. So I think it's a really good point. In terms of your kind of wild card strategy, have you got any kind of early thoughts? Are you an early wild card generally or later wild carder?
Just 2 seconds before I answer that, just quickly on my bench players. So that's the reason I've got. No, that's absolutely fine. I kind of touched on Foster early, but I've got Feminier on there as probably butchered the pronunciation, but Watford defender, 4.5 million, good early fixtures, has some attacking potential as well. I remember from Premier League games when they were back in the league, and there's actually an article on Hub actually, because I put Feminier in last night and I just checked Watford's best players on Hub. I already had him in, and it was Sarr, Feminier, and maybe Backman in the article. So yeah, Feminier is kind of I think the best Watford 4.5 defender. So that's why he's in it. Like I said, good early fixtures. He'll be on my bench most weeks because, as you can see, they're my 3 other defenders. I'll just play them every week.
Yeah.
However, if someone should drop out, I think he's a fairly good sub 1. Brownhill 4.5 million midfielders are quite thin this year. Again, if someone in the comments has someone better, I'd happily change him out. But I think he's got some decent potential, and at least he's kind of nailed on to play.
He plays, yeah.
And just lastly, again, quickly, Williams 4.0. He's showing there was in a Man United shirt. I think he's going to sign for Norwich soon. By the time you're watching this video, he might already have signed. So I think he's going to be a 4.0, probably a starting defender. But again, if I get wind of a better 4.0 defender, I'll just obviously swap that to whoever that might be before the deadline.
Superb, mate.
And yes,
fantastic.
Sorry, back to your wildcard question. That went on for a while.
All right.
Wildcard thoughts. Yeah, so no, I try to not. I don't ever go into a season, and again, this might be maybe the people who start really well do. I never really go in with that thought of I'm going to wildcard in game week 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever. If I can keep it, I'll keep it. But again, I won't be afraid to use it. I think I used it early last year, sort of game week 4, game week 5 time, because I had a poorish start.
Yeah.
Not as poor as some people really struggled at the start. It wasn't as catastrophic as that, but yeah, I do like an early wildcard because in years I've saved it till like near the Christmas time, and then I've not really needed it because I always feel like by that time you can work your team into a position where you don't really need a wildcard. And I know people got quite unlucky with how I think COVID messed up some double game week plans for people last year.
Massively, yeah.
Yeah, so I used it early last year because I needed it, but yeah, I'm flexible with it, and if I've made a massive balls up game week 1, I'd happily use it game week sort of 3. I feel game week, having said that is quite early. Game week 4 is hopefully as early as I will use it. But yeah, not afraid to use it early. And also, but I won't use it for the sake of it. If my team's in good position, I'll save it.
And if Harry Kane signs for Manchester City, it looks like he's going to play in game week 2. What's your plan? Are you going to ignore him?
No, yeah. Just rip up this this draft and delete this video because it'd be pointless.
Who'll be the fall guy in your team at the moment?
because with those strikers I've all got, and again, it's quite similar to most people. With Kane looking to miss game week 1, the other expensive strikers are kind of Vardy and Werner, who aren't too fancied. So most people have got 6.5 to 8 million strikers, which means you've got to make up a lot of money to get to Kane. So if I do really want Kane, I guess it's going to have to be Fernandes. Or I guess you judge that on who looks out of Fernandes and Salah. Maybe have to drop Salah to try and get him in. But yeah, I think Kane at City will be a no-brainer, almost captaincy most weeks. I don't know, maybe it's best to see him. I don't know, you're going to have to be brave to, sit there and watch Harry Kane to see how he gets on.
I think home to Norwich.
Yeah. And I don't think he's the kind of player who, when he's fit and ready, especially for Spurs over the years, he's been a 90-minute man as often as he's possibly been available. He's going to be naturally fit from playing in the Euros. Yeah, he'll have a little break and then he'll be ready to go. And also, he's the type of player that, when Werner joined Chelsea from, a non-English speaking country, coming into this league, a new country, culture, all that, Kane hasn't an English player going to another Premier League club. I don't feel it is as big of a deal. If you know what I mean, in terms of settling in.
Absolutely. So he's best buds with Sterling for England, isn't he? They set each other up all the time, and you got Walker and Foden, and all
Walker
these
he knows
Stones.
Spurs days and United, and England. Sorry. So exactly, there's a good core of English players at Man City. So it's gonna be a brave man to go with that. But then it's almost like if you do make that move in game week 2, it's gonna be a -4, and you're gonna be removing a really good asset in either Bruno or Salah. So it's going to be a really tricky decision, but I think we have to be one that you kind of have to bite the bullet on. You kind of have to sacrifice the points that Bruno will inevitably get, because obviously, players you don't own in your team will get points. That's just a fact of life. But I'll probably sacrifice Bruno. There's a lot of good mid-price midfielders, like I already alluded to earlier. Get one of those in and get Kane.
We will be publishing an article on fantasyfootballhub.co.uk in the next couple of days entitled How to Fit Kane, Bruno, Salah and Trent into your FPL team. So if you are interested maybe on how to do that, we will be posting an article this week on that.
Looking forward to that.
Finally, Heis, what is your top tip for the season as an FPL manager? If you had one tip.
Just one tip. I did a little thread on 7, but I'll try and pick one of those. And it's kind of something that you don't hear very often. It would be, don't try and make your team perfect. What I see a lot on Twitter and places like that, people put up screenshots every week of their team. And I look at it and I kind of think, that team looks better than mine each and every week. But what they've done to achieve that is a lot of points hits to get there. So last year I rode out Watkins when he had tough fixtures and he did okay. He popped up with he did really well. As an example, he did do very well in the tough fixtures. But even there's other examples where you'll see people go, they'll have Harry Kane. And again, this is hypothetical, but say they'll have Harry Kane in the team and it comes to game week 11 and, Kane's got a tough fixture and Vardy's got Norwich at home or whatever. Then they'll say, I'm going to bring in Vardy for 1 week and then transfer him straight back out to Kane to follow him. That uses up too many transfers. You're just trying to make the team perfect. It's ultimately going to lead to -4s and 8s, sorting out the rest of your team. So sometimes you've got to ride out mini periods of not ideal team or fixtures or not looking perfect on paper. Hopefully that makes sense. It's kind of like not over managing your team, because FPL is almost, it's difficult to also engage in it and invested in it, but you can't fully control everything. You've kind of got to make your bed and lie in it sometimes. That would be my advice.
Rich Clark wrote his first team reveal article yesterday on the Hub, and he wrote a line, and he said, patience is one chip we all get at FPL managers, but very few use it effectively. And I thought that was such a great line in it. But you've articulated that very well there. You cannot optimize every single game week. It's impossible. Your end rank is after game week 38, not after game week 6, right? It's all very well saying, I'm in the top 10k after game week 6. But at what cost, right?
Exactly.
Game week 38 is when it matters, absolutely.
100%.
Superb. So thank you very much, Heis, for that absolutely brilliant stuff. You can catch Heisenberg on Twitter at FPL_Heisenberg. He's also the social media manager for fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, so at FFH_HQ. So feel free, I shouldn't say feel free to ask him loads of questions and DM, because you'll have millions, but that is where you'll find Heisenberg's. If you liked what you watched, please press the like button. It would be much appreciated. And remember to subscribe to the channel at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Our handles on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok are at FFH_HQ, and our website is fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, where you will find everything you need for fantasy football, all under one roof, including player comparison tools, the fixture ticker, Opta-stats, top player team reveals, points prediction tools, and much, much more. To join the tens of thousands of other fantasy managers and sign up to the Hub, choose all our amazing resources, just click the top link in the description below. You will not regret it. We'll be back very soon with another team reveal from another great manager. Goodbye for now.